Hello and welcome to In the Court of the Wenton Knave. We're doing Absent Lovers. This is a live recording of the final show from 1984, the final show of the 80s, and they went out in style. If people felt Three of a Perfect Pair wasn't quite the grandiose statement that they'd hoped, this is one of the finest live albums of all time, up there with Night Watch and etc, and Heavy Construction and Vroom Vroom and whatever. The first tour with a click track. Now, at the time that must have been really controversial, and I imagine this had to do with Fripp's sense of time and feeling the importance of a consistent pulse, and Bill's complete lack of interest in a consistent pulse and deliberate messing with a consistent pulse. If they've got a click track going, Fripp doesn't have to worry about what Bill's doing. Yeah, there's no question whether Bill Bruford can keep time, he just has no interest in doing that, he wants to disturb it. And most people will be put off by that, obviously, unless you're Tony Levin. It's strange how the 84 tour, we've got Live in Japan 95, Live in Japan 84 video, which is now on the, what's it called, Neil and Jack and Me? I think that's what it's called. DVD, which is the Fragers 82 show as well. And this, so we've got the start of the tour and the end of the tour, and that's it. And you think, how many shows we got from 82? It seems really strange. Maybe they didn't record them, because this was recorded for radio and was a bootleg for many years and officially released here. But like I said, this is a moment of King Crimson. They're absolutely on fire. And really, well, what albums should I? I'm going to buy two albums from the 80s. What should I buy? Get Discipline in this, because this has what you need pretty much from the other two albums. I mean, Neil and Jack and Me isn't on there. And in time-honoured tradition, of course, the album's called Absent Lovers, which is a line from that, and the song's not on there. But other than that, there isn't much missing. So, and these are definitive performances of those songs, almost entirely. So yeah, it was the end. Bill Bruford actually suggested the possibility of Fripp actually trying to sabotage the group, or he was saying what it felt like he was almost trying to sabotage it. The incline to 1984 is over. So perhaps he thought that as a sign that that's done now, time to do something else. Because maybe the only way after this was to be more commercial, more successful, and just carry on and not do stuff. But I mean, and you have to understand that our perception of this wonderful band and wow, look at this live album, how could they split up? And the musician's own experience is a different thing. And if it isn't fun, why would you do it? It's got to be fulfilling. You've got to have a reason for doing it. You can't turn into a feeling part of the machinery. And carrying on, it would never be as good as Discipline. Even the last two albums weren't as good as Discipline, so it would never be as good as Discipline. It was time to do something else. It's interesting that this is a much better performance than the Japan show. Japan maybe a bit nervy, because it was start the tour, maybe because it was their first time in Japan. Was it? I might have been. So it seems they got better through the tour, whereas in '82 they seemed to start better. So yeah, Bill Bruford mixed this for radio, and Fripp didn't like that mix. So this is a new mix, so it's actually a different mix to the actual bootleg. Maybe one day there will be a Three of a Perfect Pair box. Maybe we'll get both mixes, and maybe the Japan show, maybe another show somewhere in between. Did they record them? You'd assume they would have recorded them by now. It would have become King Crimson standard operating procedure. You could have a Blu-ray of all the stuff on it, and Collectors Club 42, and the Champagne Urbana sessions as well, and all the random stuff that was done at the sessions, the Barbershop Quartet and the industrial stuff. Maybe there's more than fit on that CD. And the different mixes of Three of a Perfect Pair. Get Stephen Wilson to do a new mix and all that stuff. But yeah, so the next thing for Fripp was Guitarcraft. Pretty much, that was what it was about. So like I said, the final show in Montreal, I think they did 4 shows. But supposedly this is 100% the last show. They didn't mix shows, apparently, allegedly. I mean, tellingly, it's a long set compared to 82. But tellingly, they'd play as many songs from Discipline as they do from Three of a Perfect Pair. So 6 from that, or is it 7? And then a couple from Beat. So that's telling that they're acknowledging that Discipline is the stuff that needs to be heard. Track 1, Entry of the Crims, kind of called No Warning, but that was a different improvisation technically. It's so great that they improvise more on this tour, and it's a shame there wasn't more of it, I think, because it's great. Really cool, scary stuff. Adrian Belew's guitar is left on a loop making a noise, and on the Jap video he actually comes on stage, sets it up and leaves it going, and then the rest of the band sort of comes in and starts playing along with it. When Fripp really comes in on his lead, it's all very thrack, and I won't play it, but that's kind of a new melody for Fripp. It's not something he'd quite done before, so that's interesting. Really gets quite heavy at the end, with Adrian Belew, I think, doing the heavy riff, so that's great. So there you go. Track 2 is Larks, Aspic Part 3. This is the definitive version. The intro, the Larks intro, is annoyingly short. Apart from that, this is fantastic. They're really tight here. They're really tight. They're really playing really well. The star of the show is Adrian Belew. The last section, rather than it just Fripp soloing and it's slightly a bit chugging along, a bit boring, Adrian Belew starts with some fantastic sort of plinking before he comes in. Plink, plink. Fripp comes in a little bit later, and there's this wonderful interplay with that. That's one of the best bits of the live album, actually, even though on the studio album it was a bit boring. So that's great. Next track is Thela Hun Ginjeet. It cuts straight into this because there is no ending to Larks 3. That's the best version. For me, that's the best version. It's better than the Philadelphia version. Track 4 is Red. Easily the best 80s version. There's probably an argument for it being the best live version of Red. Bill Bruford's on fire on that one. It's just great. Mate Kudasai. Always great. Maybe I prefer it in the 90s, maybe. Industry. Yeah. Completely blows the album version away. Partially because of the sound, because it's a live sound rather than the sort of synthy 80s sound of the album. The Jap version's good too. Then we've got Dig Me, which is fantastic. The album version is good, but the dynamics are much more over the top live, obviously, because they've been playing it for a bit and they're free to do it in a live setting, so that makes it better. And you realise an awful lot of this, it's all about how good Adrian Belew's voice is. His voice is in great form on this. He's singing fantastic. It's probably the best he's sung on any of the 80s stuff. So it is wonderful. Much better than even on Three of a Perfect Pair, the album, strangely. Maybe it's a confidence thing. Maybe his confidence is built through that, Then we have Three of a Perfect Pair. It is a great version, except Fripp doesn't change chords during the solo. Maybe he was distracted by something, or don't know. Or they just decided to do it that way, and that's a bit of a shame. It would have been a really good version, but they don't do the chord changes in the solo. Then we have Indisciplined. That's the best version of Indisciplined. I think nothing tops that. Best intro, really funny, intense performance, just great. Doesn't get any better than that. Track 10, or actually the start of disc 2, is Sartori and Tangier. Completely blows the album version away. Is that the best version? Probably. The Philadelphia version maybe that's better. I don't know. I'll have to put them back to back. Track 11 is Frame by Frame. I think overall Frame by Frame was better in the 90s. Maybe that's controversial. I think it suited the double trio and it suited the recording quality as well. Then we have Man with an Open Heart. Oh, so much better than on the album. It is live where you realise it's a great song, particularly this one. It's just great. The way the bass is bouncing along, boom, boom. And Adrian Belew's so self-assured and his voice is great. If only that was a single that sounded like that, they could have had a huge hit with that, I think. Next track is Waiting Man. Seems strange to have it halfway through a set, but then of course they can't really open with it because there's a new album to promote, which is Larks 3 and etc. Really good intro. Generally better than 82, even though obviously the Bill Adrian duet is awesome. Sleepless. It's got to be the best version of Sleepless. Absolutely fantastic. You realise what a great song it is and how, when it's played so in your face rather than sort of washy, you realise it's a classic and that is how it should be heard. It shouldn't sound wimpy, it should be really. Larks Songs Aspic Part 2, that's the definitive 80s version. There's good versions from 82 as well, but that is the version from the 80s if you want to show people what it sounds like in the 80s. Then we've got Discipline, as with the album. Obviously it's a recycle, so there's not much places it can go. Then we have Heartbeat. I still don't get this idea it's a great live track. It is Heartbeat and they are playing it. You had to be there, I think. And finally, Elephant Talk. A really assured version, great version. Don't know if it's the best or not, but yeah. That's a must. That one's a must. Okay, so next, I think, he says, is Sylvian Fripp, actually. And then, after that, is Froome. See you next week.